everybody, and welcome to Adobe Live. My name is Flynn, and we would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today. And we would also like to pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging. We have a great stream for you today. This is part one of a two-part series with Tina Victoria Afshar, which we'll introduce in 1 second. Hey, everybody in chat. Got Johanna, Steve is here as well. If you're watching over on YouTube or anywhere else, jump on over to behance.net/live, log in and let us know what is up. Come say hi. And here is Tina. Hi, Tina. How you going?
Hello. Hi, and how you going?
I am really good. Thank you. It's very fun to have you here. It's really nice to be doing something together once more. It's been a long time.
I'm thrilled. It's stunning.
So you're in Melbourne. I'm here in Sydney, as I always am, because I never leave my home/prison/workplace. How are you doing down in Melbourne? What's going on with you these days?
Things are going in Melbourne. So far, so good. It's a tricky city. What's been going on is I have plenty of answers right before you ask. And then when you do, I'm like, there's nothing. I'm in my own prison of my own creation.
Aren't we all?
The background that you have with that black just makes me feel like you're in a really cool sound system, like one of those sound booths.
Yeah, that's the whole point. Like, I think I told you when we first started streaming from home, I just have like white painted brick behind me, and so everyone said that I would literally look like I was in a prison. So I had to put some sort of aesthetic behind. But yeah, it's all smoke and mirrors.
Dead.
Yeah.
I love it. And you've got like brown hair. You look more Melbourne than I do.
Right.
You look picture perfect.
Yeah, just with my espressos and all sorts of stuff. Very cool. So I'm very familiar with your work. So I know, like, I've known you probably since you're working with Round and fantastic studios down in Melbourne. You're independent now. So can you tell us a little bit about that journey while I put some music on?
Yeah, of course. Well, I have been working in studios for quite a while, about, I'd say 6 years almost. And then, of course, last year happened, and it felt like a great time to go independent when the world was in a panic. So I took that step, and it's actually been okay. I think it's nice when you spend about 6 years working in a studio and you learn from designers and account managers. And I love this music. It's suiting the mood.
It's a vibe.
It's a vibe. Anyway, it just felt like a good time. I felt like I'd learned enough. I had to go out on my own at some point, and here I am. And it's nice. I do a bit of client work. It's a bit of half and half between doing client work and working as a design teacher as well for Shillington. So it's a nice split of time. And when I am doing client work, it's mostly brand identities and trying to bring in animation as much as possible, because I think those two go really hand in hand. And it's really satisfying seeing your work move and being someone who can make it move. So it's all about satisfaction. It's all about this vibe that we've got right now.
I love it. And you also have the podcast as well, which I love. So Story Hotline podcast that you do with Emma? Is it Emma? Am I getting that right?
Ella. Close. Ella. Close. Just change a couple of see there.
Nice one. And she's in the UK, I believe, as well. So you do it all remotely. Like, everything is remotely these days. But that's super cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting story, because we're in the pandemic last year. It was like April or something. And when the world is just bleak and you just want escapism. So we were both naturally, like, we love going down rabbit holes and finding out, I don't know, about mysteries and conspiracies and things that are going on in the world. And then just naturally we would tell them to each other. And she'd always wanted to start a podcast. I always wanted to start a podcast. We'd known each other since design school, but now we were living in two different cities. And we just thought, look, there's this thing called Zoom. It's working out for everybody. Should we just give this podcast thing a crack? And that was about a year ago now, almost exactly a year. Oh. And it's great. We tell each other a story every week. Now it's fortnightly. We like dive into a story on the internet, learn a bit about it, then tell each other, and it's good fun.
That's super cool. Let's check that out. So I'm gonna fade over. I'm navigating over here just to make things a little bit easier. This is Story Hotline. I don't know why I'm tripping over my words today. Story Hotline, the podcast. It's super cool. And the other reason I wanted to bring it up is because look at this cool mesh. So not only is this like super well like planned timeline, which I think is really cool and people can learn a lot from. Like I love how well it's designed. Like you've got this whole system going on. But yeah, look at these titles like Lizard People, Flat Earth Theory, Scientology. Birds Aren't Real. That was totally new to me. I haven't listened to that one yet, but I've got to listen to that one because that's insane. The latest one I listened to was the Lizard People one. So lots of fun there. Check it out. This is, of course, your Instagram feed as well. Look at these gradient meshes. So we are going to be talking about that in just a moment.
Yes.
And just before we do, I'm just over on your website and I was checking out this +2 project. So maybe you could kind of walk us through this before we jump into our After Effects stuff.
Yes. Well, thank you for doing such a good job at navigating, because I feel like I'm, those movies where it's like, this is your life. I feel like I just can sit back and let you show me. And I'm also going to be tripping up on my words, so it's you and me both, baby. But so +2, this is a cafe. It's where you are, Flynn. It's in Waterloo, and it was one of those jobs where the architect had come into it. She'd already started designing the space, and she just wanted to work with a designer so that both our visions could come together. And it was this interesting name, +2. The space is really interesting. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see that the counter where you make coffee and where you serve food, it's pushed flush up against the wall. So the staff can't actually hide behind a counter. It's kind of like a kitchen.
Right.
It's like my space, your space. And so the architect had this whole idea about, terrazzo tiling from floor to walls. And so there was lots of metaphors going around, lots of layering, additions, the actual offering of the space, multiple layers to it. So the branding, I felt like, needed to be simple to allow other areas of the business to really show itself. But also it's a great opportunity to use animation within the branding. And it was something that you and I were speaking about a little bit earlier, Flynn, this idea that you can be, and this is a thing, right? I feel as though there's this temptation to kind of pigeonhole designers into illustrators or motioners or what are the other ones? Art directors. Right. But I feel as though that's sometimes you can be a designer that just has all these little skills in their toolkit. Like you can be a brand identity who can animate, or a designer that also has really, really great skills in audio or in art direction. Like I don't think we need to pigeonhole ourselves, because then we get to actually see what else inspires us and really kind of grow creatively. But enough of that. The point is that this is one of those projects where I felt like the identity was good, but then it could be even more fun if we allowed it to be made. And if we keep scrolling down a little bit, we'll see how the brand mark shows that idea of you start with you, and then it adds up, and there's new layers, and then it grows. And it was this whole metaphor around how it has one offering, but wait, no, it has another offering, and what? It's got a third offering. And anyway, it brought a bit of personality.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, like even though it's a physical space, everything has like an online presence as well. So, and as soon as there's a screen, I feel like we should be thinking about animation to make things more engaging and and have an online life as well as a physical life. So that is super cool. It's a lovely project. Check it out.
Thank you.
I like it a lot. But yeah, hey, how about we jump into After Effects?
Yes, please.
Okay. Whenever you're ready, I think I can just do that, and we have your screen up. Cool. So here we are. Here we are in After Effects. Where did Oh, sorry. Go on.
Yeah. No. You're doing great.
Thanks. I love it. You're cheering me on. So where did this gradient mesh kind of thing come from? Because I've seen it in a couple of places. Like, when did you start experimenting with this sort of like bleeding color kind of thing? Did this come from a project and you're like, oh, that's cool? Or was it a personal project? Was it for Story Hotline? When did you start doing like experimenting with this sort of thing?
Great question. I think, gradients, everybody loves them. It brings them joy. When I first started animating, it was definitely one of the experiments I wanted to do, was to see if I could actually make colors merge and move together. So part of it was being a side passion project to start making these things happen. Another one was I thought it was going to be really, really difficult. And then I realized, after I figured out how to do it, it's actually quite simple, and it can bring you so much joy. It takes about 20 to 25 minutes. You sit down, you choose your favorite colors, a couple of effects, and you can create this movement that can emulate how you're feeling, whether you're feeling really happy and joyous, or if you're feeling kind of bleak and you want to reflect the Melbourne or Sydney weather today. I don't really do it for client work. I sometimes do it for Story Hotline because like a passion project, but I think it's like as a way to kind of stretch the creative brain. And people watching, because it is quite simple, you'll be surprised. You may find that if you ever need 30 minutes where you've got a creative, you can just jump onto After Effects, create this mesh thing that you really enjoy looking at, that's really effective and nice, and it'll just make you feel a little bit more creative, and then you can bounce back into your work. Nice. All right, let's go. I love this music as well. It's just beautiful mood. It's going to match the motion as well. All right, I'll start by showing you what we're going to create. So this is a 15-second video of 4 colors that are meshing and moving and combining together. Cool. It's very soft, very slow. We can manipulate how quickly we want it to move, the direction you want it can move in, and how it loops around. So first things first, let's put on my keystrokes so we can see what shortcuts I'm using. So we want to create a new artboard first. We'll just go Command N. I'm going to be making it in Instagram story dimensions, which are 1080 by 1920. That way we can all post it and show the world what we've done. Nice. We want to stick to a 24 frame rate. 24 is usually the standard, and you'll find that you can maybe try a couple, maybe try 29, even go down to 15, but I find 24 works the best for me. And I'm going to make my duration 15 seconds as well, so we can make a beautiful Instagram loop and call this Flynn is the best. Done. All right, first things first. We want to create a rectangle. It doesn't matter what color it is. We just want to make sure our rectangle has a fill. So I'm going to turn off my stroke and zoom out just a tad. And just make sure your rectangle covers your full artboard. Again, doesn't really matter what size it is. We've got this rectangle because we're going to apply the 4-point gradient effect to it. And I'm just going to quickly rename this Gradient 1. Going into the effects and preset search, if you just type in 4-point. Oh, did that do anything? 4-point. Oh, baby, please tell me. Please show me. It's just one of those days, isn't it, Flynn? It's just one of those days.
It's like a Murphy's Law with streaming. Like, everything will work, like practicing everything, getting everything set up, and then something weird will happen. Or like you'll be trying to demonstrate something and you've done it a million times, and then you can't find it, or for some reason. It's always
yes. Oh, I told Flynn before this that I'd had nightmares about doing this stream, and he was like, "You'll be fine, you'll be fine." And then it's not fine, is it, Flynn? But anyway,
it is fine. It is fine. We're here together. We're all hanging out. Everyone's got your back.
I'm just talking to my friend. That's it.
Exactly. You're teaching me something I don't know. It's perfect.
Oh, love it. All right. So my bad. It's called the 4-color gradient, or the 4-point gradient. And you find it under Generate, or if you just type in gradient up the top here. And all we have to do is just drag and apply it to our Gradient 1 layer. And now we've got these 4 colors. Automatically, It's into a gradient. Now, I think After Effects just default chooses these colors. It's not really up to us, but we have the power and we can change what we want these colors to be.
Nice.
So if I want to replicate what we've got here, I'm going to make the top one gray. Oh, Flynn, do you want to choose the colors?
Oh, cool.
Do you want the power?
So yellow is my favorite color. So if we could have a yellow in there, that would be cool.
110% we can. There you go.
Nice one.
What's your next one?
Should we ask chat? Hey chat, first color that you throw in will be the next color chosen. There's a 40-second delay, Tina. So if you ask, it takes 40 seconds for it to get to chat. So.
Oh, okay. I see.
We'll just hang out.
Maybe I'll choose the next color.
Cool.
And then color 4, we'll let chat choose. We got anything?
Not yet. It'll come.
Not yet.
Okay. So checking in with chat, by the way, if you're joining us and you're watching on YouTube, jump over to behance.net/live to say hello. Johanna's suggesting Pantone color for a mallard duck. Yeah. So I love ducks.
A Pantone color.
I don't know if you know this about me, Tina.
You love ducks.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Duck fan. Camo. R&B has suggested camo as a color. I think that might be a little bit difficult. I think we're looking for one color. Yeah. So we've got a deep blue / green from Johanna who jumped in first. Thanks,
all right.
Johanna.
Okay.
Thanks, RB.
Thank you, Johanna. All right, let's go with this blue. I'm liking it. It feels deep, royal, matches the vibe of this music.
Nice.
You're very good at music selection, Flynn.
This is a well-curated playlist that's like bulletproof.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's just chill. If
I might need to get this off you later.
If I ever play a song on here that like isn't perfect, Johanna lets me know straight away. She's like, delete that song. That's no good for streaming.
Delete that song. Dead.
So it's been Johanna tested. So it's Johanna. This is the Johanna approved playlist for Adobe Live.
Oh, I love it. I feel as though I need Johanna in my dating life. If ever I'm with a guy, she's like, delete that guy. You don't need it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny.
Everyone needs a Johanna in their corner.
Absolutely. All right. Baby, baby, baby. We've got our first gradient. It's looking kind of like what we had before, but it's not quite there yet. We've got a couple more steps. What we want to do is we just want to duplicate this and make a gradient number 2. And we're going to change the colors up a little bit. I might keep color 1 the same, but I might make the second color, I just want to make it something bold that will stand out. So maybe I'll go with red. And maybe that neon that Flynn likes, we'll bring that back in. And then maybe just so it's not chaos, we'll add that gray. And now that's sort of beginning to look a bit like this, but it's not quite there yet. We just want to duplicate this top layer twice more. So now we've got gradient 1, 2, 3, and 4. I am going to change the colors here because otherwise it would be chaos. I think something about After Effects I've learned is I heavily rely on the layers. So I always try and choose different colors for each layer, because when you're in here and like you're deep in the keystrokes and the key points, you're trying to like make everything happen. I feel as though, and you've got like 20 layers, I feel as though the brain can't work anymore and you're just looking visually at colors to lead you and where to go.
So when you've changed these, you're just changing like the labels of the layers just for your own like navigational purposes.
Exactly. That's it. Mm-hmm. That's it. It also looks sick. So, yeah. I mean, whatever we can do. All right. Now we've got 4 gradients. Let's change it up again. This is where it gets really fun. This is something that I discovered while I was making these gradients. We've got these modes, these blend modes. This is when you can like multiply, screen, lighten, etc. I'm going to keep the first one normal. But with the second one, so it's just here under mode. If you can't find it, just click on the toggle switches / mode, and then it'll appear. So under mode, the second one I might choose pin light. Pin light's one of my favorites.
Okay.
Nothing's really happened yet, but that's okay. Then maybe the third one will go linear light.
So a lot of these sound like sort of when you said multiply, that like, you know, people that use Photoshop a lot will, you know, probably be familiar with those sorts of things. But pin light is, you know, sounds unique to After Effects.
That's a great point. Is it unique to After Effects?
Well, I don't think it exists
I have no
in
idea.
Photoshop, so...
Oh, that's hectic. Yeah, there you go.
I think chat will let me know if I'm wrong.
Joanna will let us know.
Chat or Johanna will sort me out, yeah.
There'll just be like a clear wrong that comes through the chat.
I just cut this bit from the final like on-demand video whenever I'm wrong, so it just always seems like I'm right.
Always asking good questions and always right.
Yeah, it's easy when you're the one editing.
Yeah. All right, the reason why I love pin light, it's because I don't know. I'm going to be honest with those who are watching right now. I don't know a lot about After Effects because there is so much to learn, and I genuinely just have like my own nicknames for what effects do and all that sort of stuff.
Awesome. But
pin light is one of my favorites because I feel as though she just helps separate the colors a bit rather than meshing. What am I saying? Who knows? But it's almost like she puts a pin on the colors and like kind of separates them from each other. So that's why we love pin light. And it's because of her that we've got this cool, very distinctive red with that yellow orbit color around it. And we've got this yellow here too. It's looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy with this so far. Nice. But now we want to include the mesh. So with the mesh, how much have you used, Flint? Have you used After Effects?
I used to use it quite a lot. I used to use it long enough ago that I've forgotten a lot of what I used to know.
Yeah.
A lot of what I use is like more template based. So it's like, okay, cool. I want to do something very simple, and I'll do it, and then I'll just basically have to re-Google almost every step. I'm like, wait, how do I group again? Like I had to look up how I grouped the other day, and then I moved everything. I wanted to group some things together and then just rotate them. And then everything rotated from a different pin axis, so I rotated it and everything went whoa, like this, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to check some more out. So I am totally fine with it, but it probably takes me a lot longer than it should, because I need to re-look up things. Okay, how does grouping work again? Like, what's that what's that effect that I'm particularly looking for so it loops properly, stuff like that.
Yeah. Quick question. How do you group? Because I don't know. How do you do it?
I'll have to look it up because I had to look it up yesterday and I've already forgotten. But you definitely can.
Oh, that's so funny. This is what I mean. I feel like nobody is an expert in After Effects. We just all know how to do certain things really, really well. And then somebody will say something super simple like, how do you group this? And our brains just go, zip. You got no idea.
Yeah, I think I ended up because it was moving differently. I think I ended up just creating a new comp out of it, like creating a completely new comp and then just throwing it in. I think that's what I ended up doing.
That's usually what I do.
Yeah.
Although I learned null the other day. Have you ever used new_null object?
No, but I've seen people on Adobe Live do it.
It's pretty good. Everything that you do, if you've got a null object, you can transform all the layers that are underneath it. So if we go... Oh, sorry. First, we have to parent it. So if I click on these, it's kind of like a parent to a child. We want all these layers to be children of null. Mm-hmm. So you just drag it, you got null, and then I can scale this up 150 and it'll affect all the layers that are underneath it.
Oh, right.
It's still rendering, so it hasn't done it. But null is one of the ways that we love.
Nice.
But we're not going to do null today. We're going to do adjustment layer. So with adjustment layers, I'm not sure if you use this either, but it's like having an invisible layer that applies any effect you attach to it to all the layers that are underneath it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So if I move gradient 4 above the adjustment layer, this won't be affected. Gradient 4 won't be affected by the effect that I place on adjustment layer. but I do want gradient 4 to be affected. So we're just going to make sure everything sits underneath it.
Nice.
And the way to access it for anybody who missed it was you just right click on the space that sits underneath your layers right here. Right click, new, and then adjustment layer. Or I think maybe there's a way here. Yeah, you go layer, adjustment layer, and there it is.
Nice.
Anyway, this is where the mesh comes into place. So we're going to type in mesh warp. And again, we're just dragging and placing it on top of adjustment layer. And you can see it's a little prison of its own creation at the top there. We're going to change the rows and columns because I find the less rows you've got, the less columns you've got, the less hectic and the more smooth your outcome will be. It's kind of like when you're drawing curved lines in Illustrator, the less anchor points you've got, the more curved, beautiful curves you've got, smooth curves.
I love that analogy. That's great.
Oh, hey. Analogies and good questions. There we go.
That's us.
That's us. A regular Bonnie and Clyde. All right. I've brought it down to 3 columns and 3 rows just because, again, the smoother it is, the better. And, why can't I access it? Where'd she go? See, this is great when things like this happen because then, there we go. We just had to click onto Mesh Warp and now we've got them back. So what I want to do is I kind of want to click on the middle of each intersection until these handles appear. And then I just want to warp it up a bit. And what that means is that once my animation starts to move, the shapes will warp around where I've created these curves.
Oh, wow.
So you want to be a bit considerate with it. You don't want it to be too hectic because you're also thinking about the experience that these colors are having. If it's too hectic and too chaotic, then you're probably going to have really jagged, relation happening between colors.
Right.
So just like a relationship, we've just got to nurture it, be super calm and considerate.
Love how you're giving all everything within After Effects like little names and personalities and problems of their own.
Humanizing them. I'll give them genders in a moment. It's this music, Flynn. It's the music. It's just got a vibe to it. Oh gosh. All right. I'm thinking that looks kind of okay. What do you reckon? Should I keep going, or do you reckon she's there? I
don't know. I think it's looking good. I mean, it's looking wacky, but based on what you said, they all looks pretty smooth. So I think we'd have to see it first.
All right. Yes, we probably do need to see it. And the thing to remember is you can always jump back to your layers. You can always, with this adjustment layer, the beauty of it is you can keep changing it as soon as you start animating. It won't affect what you've got down here. But now we've got our mesh warp in there, so that's fantastic. And I just want to check, yep, we've got quality of 8. You can always increase the quality. You can go like up to 50. That hasn't, the maximum is 10. Oh, what if I go down to 2? It doesn't do anything. See, again, a mystery of After Effects that we don't know the answer to. But usually I just keep it to 8. And now, Flynn, my dear friend Flynn, we're going to make our gradient move.
Wow, I'm keen.
So, wow, I can feel it. You're super keen. We're going to go back to gradient 1, the first one that we made. And we're going to click on 4 color gradient and it'll show us these 4 points that have just appeared. These points belong to these colors. So point 1 belongs to the gray, then point 2 the yellow, magenta, blah, blah, etc., etc. We're going to start with point 1, which is the gray. And I'm going to make a, what are they called? Keyframe. See?
Keyframe.
I was going to call her something else. It's a keyframe. We're going to make a keyframe at 0 seconds. And then I might move to 5 seconds and also drag that point to another spot. But this is where you have to start thinking about what is the movement? What's the relationship between all these different keyframes? Do you want them to move clockwise? That could be kind of nice so that when you're animating, there's just this beautiful, smooth flow. Do you want it to be really chaotic? Like, do you want them to be moving at different points and different angles the entire time it animates? Because of the music that Flynn selected, I'm going to go for something a bit smoother. I'm going to go with just a nice clockwise direction.
Just a chill hop
So I think what we'll do,
gradient speed. I like that.
yeah. If ever, do you remember back when we all had like Windows 95 and you watched music videos and you could choose
Yes.
like the cool effect that was in the background? This is what that reminds me of.
Oh my gosh. Now I'm not going to be able to think of anything else until, it would be almost like a screensaver, right? Like you bring it big and it would just kind of be like, yeah, you're listening to jazz. This is it. Like, wow, I can see like the music.
Producer. Yeah. Dead. I thought I was being so creative. I'm like, oh baby, I've chosen the best preset for the song.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. All right, so there's a few ways we can go about this. We could go the simplest way. Let's go the simplest. That's a good idea. So I've just done 2 keyframes at this point. It was just for 0.1. So I've moved her from 0 seconds across to here. Maybe I'll just do that one more time because I don't know if that worked. Did you work? No, you didn't. So you want, oopsie. So she started off there. And that's where we've got our keyframe. And we're going to move to 5 seconds and move our keyframe with them so she knows where to move to.
Right.
Oh, do you know what I'm doing wrong? Oh, this is great. Now we can pick up our mistakes together.
Nice.
You want your keyframes not to be on color. You want it to be on point.
On point.
All right.
I like it. Makes
on
sense.
Point.
On point.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? All right. So 0.1, that's the one we want to have our keyframes on. So that was on 0 seconds. Then you move across to 5 seconds and you move the keyframe. So now there's this relationship happening.
Okay.
And that's kind of nice. Yeah. Now we want to move to 0.2. And again, keyframe so that it knows to start at that point and then move to 5 seconds. And since we're going in a clockwise direction, I'm going to move this keyframe down here. So now it looks like this. Things are beginning to move.
Nice.
So I'm just going to continue that relationship from 0.3 down, move her across. Did that work? No. Oh. All right. My students at Shillington often, or not, more the teachers actually, they say that I've got sound effects for everything. And you could just like record a lesson with me saying, no, go back, Command Z.
You've got to capture just all of those little sounds and just save them as little sound bites and you can just play them.
Exactly. It's just chaos in the class.
I think I do that a lot.
Why isn't this moving?
I do that a lot if I'm designing stuff as well. I'm like, if you're moving something from left to right or something, you're like, okay, whoosh, you go over here. You go over here. I think it's even more pronounced like when you work, like just as so many of us have been like stuck at home, you've got to entertain yourself. So
that's it, exactly. And also because there's nobody else around to hear you, you almost feel like you need to make up for all the voices that aren't there. Like just have to have some banter with yourself as well. All right, I'm just going to finish this up. Where did you move to? There we go. Oh, it doesn't. There we go. Okay. And
now so to reiterate in my own words, so I understand it. So you've got the 2 different keyframes, and you're essentially moving all 4 points that we've created, which are all associated with the color, around to different positions, so that there's a different state at each of those points.
That's it.
Is that us?
We're kind of guiding where the colors are moving to. We're trying to say to them, this is where I want you to start and this is where I want you to end up. Cool. But we've only done the first 5 seconds. I'm just having trouble with 0.3. There we go. Now she's moving. Okay. So that's our first 5 seconds. Now that we've got that, I'm just going to quickly move to the 10-second point. And again, just going to move clockwise. So moving this point here, that one down, this one across here. You don't have to be precious. You can just move in the general direction because again, we just want to see how our animation is going to move. And then to make sure it loops, you can just drag and grab all the anchor points at 0 seconds, Command-C to paste if you're on a Mac, and then move your, what's this thing called? Your current time indicator. Move that to 15 seconds. So now it does a full loop. So
Right.
it's moved around, and then it ends where it starts.
Cool.
But
It's like
there's more.
blasphemy to create
What?
like animation that doesn't loop, right? Like it seems so important
Yeah.
that things loop these days.
But does it loop? Exactly. I know. All right, so we've done one, but now we want to make it a little bit more. We want more of a relationship. So that exact same process, go up to gradient 2. You could end here actually if you wanted. But I like to make sure that every color is moving because then you get cooler effects. So I'm just going to go down to 4-color gradient. Not that. All right. Positions and colors. And again, same schmick. So a faster way of doing it is 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4. Just select them all. And then if you click on one keyframe, it should apply it to all of them. And then we can move to 5 seconds again. I'm just going to do this one a little bit faster. But see how now we've got a different relationship happening. That wouldn't have happened unless we had our gradient duplicated 4 times.
Right.
To almost have, 16 colors moving around now?
Right. Okay. Cool. This is the magic.
Yeah. This is it. And this is that point when you're like having a massive creative block. You can just come in and create a gradient that feels like magic as it's happening. It feels really cool and might inspire another idea to come along. And the thing as well is you can keep duplicating your gradient as many times as you want. Keep applying different points to it. I find the more you do, the more wacky outcomes you'll have. But sometimes it's also nice just to pare it back. So we'll just do one more. So again, moving in a clockwise direction. Oh, I love red. How good is red, Flynn?
That red looks
Don't
so
you love
cool.
it? Oh, I just want to taste it. It's so nice. Spicy. Is that okay to say?
That's
Adobe
fine.
Live? Is that fine? Yeah. I want to taste
Spice is
this
fine.
red.
I want to taste colors. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. Is that like a magical ability that some people have that they can? That when they can see music? Is that what that is?
Are you asking me if it's like a cool superpower? Because it's a pretty boring superpower. I can taste
To see
colour.
music?
Oh, seeing music would be cool.
Yeah, that would be awesome. You don't want to taste color? You don't want to look at it like a delicious yellow and be like,
I'm not
yummy.
I'm not saying I don't want to do it. It's just if there were people flying around me and turning invisible, I'd feel a little bit sad if I was like, yeah, but this yellow tastes like yellow.
Yeah. You don't understand, Batman.
Yeah. I don't think the X-Men would let me in.
No, the Avengers definitely wouldn't.
No.
All right. So I've moved every single point or every single gradient that we've got in increments of 5 seconds. And now I'm just going to let her render because it's all about to come together. And look at your yellow. I think it's the
Yellow's
hero.
doing its thing.
Yellow is there. I don't see the blue though. So I'm sorry, Johanna, that I don't know where the blue went. Maybe she got lost in the blend.
Just went off. Just walked off on her own.
Yeah, that's it.
While we're going, we've got a little bit over 10 minutes left. I told you it goes fast, Tina.
It does.
Yeah, so if anybody has any questions while we're going through, feel free to throw them in chat. You often don't have to have lots of questions when there's a lot of banter like this. As you can tell, Tina and I love hanging out together. I have one thing that I thought would be really interesting while we're waiting for this to render. Remember yesterday we were talking about how people, and me in particular, hate the sound of their own voice?
Yes.
Right? I just happened to stumble across this. You hate the sound of your recorded voice because it's missing the low frequency you're used to hearing. When you talk, you hear your voice as it goes through the air in the back of your ear, and it also goes through your skull to your ear. And this bone conduction mechanism transmits the low frequencies better than air does. So your recorded voice only has air transmitted sound. So that causes the dissonance between what you think your voice sounds like and what it really does.
Oh my goodness. Flynn, that's so interesting. So we naturally sound more deeper to ourselves.
Yeah, because it's coming through like in your head as well, but we're actually higher pitch. So when you hear the recording, that is what you sound like. See, I thought I was all baritone, but I'm Alvin and the Chipmunks over here. And it's
No,
pretty
you're
rough.
not. Flynn, can somebody in the chat tell Flynn he's got a great voice? I even said it to you yesterday. I'm like, it's just so soothing. It's like the music. No wonder you chose this music. And no wonder we're doing gradients like this. It's all smooth.
It's just all part of my
your
plan.
brand. Yeah. Yeah, but I completely feel that way. Whenever, this is so embarrassing, but sometimes when we're editing the podcast, I ask Ella if we can just slow down, like manipulate our voices to just be a bit deeper by slowing it down.
Right.
And I got to a point once where I'd slowed it down by almost like 10%. So we sounded like robots. And I said, oh, we sound nice. And she was like, Tina, you've got like voice dysmorphia because this sounds terrible. But I felt that. I was like, my voice is not this high pitched. It's not this excitable. But
here we are.
It's like, here we are.
Crushing
and here
reality.
we are with the animation.
Right.
So
this
that's how she moves.
Super
and
cool.
It's quite nice. It's very relaxing. A little trick, if ever you get to a frame that you're like, oh baby, that's the stuff, you can go up to composition and you just want to like export a still. You can go up to composition, same frame as file, and you can render it as a PSD.
Oh, cool.
And that's a nice way to get like nice prints, or if you want to use it in your branding project, anything like that, there are ways to export stills from After Effects.
Oh, that's super cool.
And there we go. Yeah.
Amazing.
Do you feel that you can now make your 4-point gradients?
What do you think, chat? Is anyone going to try this? I want to see if someone attempts this and share it with us. You can throw it in the Discord, or you can share with us online, or share it with Tina. But yeah, that's super cool. So how do you export this? Maybe we'll do the whole thing. So just show exactly how you would export. And do you export within After Effects, or do you use the media encoder? Which camp do you fall in?
Definitely Adobe Media Encoder, because if you export from, which you can always export from, where is it? From After Effects. It usually exports it as, if you go render queue, it exports it as an MOV file, which is really, really big. We don't need it to be big for this situation. We can just go Adobe Media Encoder, and then that will export it as an MP3, and you have a little bit more leeway in terms of the quality you want it to be exported at. It's usually a smaller file size as well, and a bit faster. So I definitely fall under this camp. If I click this though, because I'm only sharing screen for my After Effects,
it won't come up.
Should I reframe? No? Okay.
Oh no, it's okay. Yeah,
So,
no, we don't need to show that.
It's okay.
That's cool.
Okay. But anyway, that's how I do it.
Amazing.
What camp do you fall into?
Oh yeah, I use media encoder. Yeah, pretty much all the time.
Yeah.
I'm just used to it.
I remember I was once trying to export a really big illustration file that had like characters moving and day turning into night and all this sort of stuff. And it had to be through render queue. And I had to do it overnight. And it was due like COB that day. And we had to say to client, I'm sorry, like the render queue says 4 hours, which usually means 10.
Yeah.
So it won't be with you until tomorrow morning. It can be nuts.
And then you have to like upload it and then sync and all that sort of stuff. I guess our internets are a little bit better these days, but yeah, we had a file that we had to export. I can't remember what it was for. I was a Creative Mornings talk, and it went for supposed to be 20 minutes. Went for like 55 minutes, and we couldn't upload it because Australian internet would just crash. So we had so I spent like all weekend rendering this thing. This isn't paid work, by the way. This is like volunteer sort of stuff. Spent all weekend editing and rendering and doing everything on like a 2011 MacBook Air That's right.
Oh
MacBook
my
Air.
God.
That's all I had. That's all I had. And it took obviously forever. The whole thing like lit up like a Christmas tree. Like the fan, you know, there weren't fans on that one, but yeah, you get it. And finally kind of woke up in the morning before work and went, right, I'm going to take it. I'm going to upload. And because like I couldn't even compress it enough to be able to upload the whole thing. And I ended up putting it on a USB and mailing it to my friend in the US to upload it.
That's nuts.
I know it's ridiculous,
I can't
but I'm
believe
like,
we got to that point.
I'm like, I'm just gonna express post this a USB and send it to you. Can you upload it? And he was like, yeah, that's super weird. And I'm like, it just because it was dropping out, like it was super compressed. I'm like, this is bad anyway. But I'm like, at least it's done. And then it wouldn't upload. Like it would upload for about like 4 hours and then it just crashed. Like the window just closed.
Imagine getting to that point in your life where you feel as the internet has let you down so much that you've got to mail something to America to upload. That's nuts.
It worked. It worked.
It worked.
It did. Sorry, I'm just about to have to cough. Pardon me. Actually done
That's
quite well lasting the whole stream without coughing. There was a question before. How did you discover this technique in After Effects? Do you remember your first mesh?
Ooh, great question. I discovered this because we actually had to do it for work at Round. It wasn't similar to this, but it did require us to move gradients. And so I remember like scouring through YouTube trying to find a video or something, and I eventually found something similar. But the beauty of After Effects, or once you discover one way of doing something, is you can apply your own methods to it. So I think the very first mesh I did was very similar to the YouTube video that I had seen, but it developed over time. But it was born because I had to do it for work, and then we never actually went forward with it with our concept. So now I just use it as this thing to help like chill me out a little bit, get my creative juices flowing again.
Yeah.
Apply some like fun music, R&B tracks. I'll get this track from Flynn at some point, play it while I make my gradients.
Nice one. Okay, I have one more question, and then I think we'll wrap up.
Okay.
Story Hotline podcast. What's the craziest thing you've discovered? So for those that don't know or weren't here at the beginning, Tina does a fantastic podcast where her and her friend like basically research. What I was saying about it before is I think it's so cool because it keeps it really fresh, because you get to just decide what you're going to investigate and then do your own research, and you kind of mash it all together. Like, oh, did you hear about this? Did you hear about this? What's your favorite episode, or what is the craziest thing you've discovered?
My favorite episode is the one that we've just released yesterday on the Loch Ness Monster.
Cool.
And oh gosh, how long do I have? Do I have 2 minutes? Do I have 1 minute?
3 minutes.
But 3 minutes. Okay. Loch Ness Monster. I don't know if you grew up like this, Flynn, but it's like with like the Bermuda Triangle, like Bigfoot. Mm-hmm. People tell you it's not real, but like, well, Bermuda Triangle is real, but Bigfoot, like you kind of think, I want it to be real. I want the Loch Ness Monster to be real. I want to be able to go to the Scottish Highlands, see the Loch Ness. And I remember there was always a photo of her as well. There was always a photo of Nessie. Mm-hmm. And so I thought, how is this still a mystery? Because we have a photo of her. And so I won't give it away, but the episode that we just released was researching about this photograph, figuring out, is it real? Is it not real? What's the story behind it? And then, and if it's not a monster, what is under there? And like, what has DNA showed us? Because there were these Kiwi scientists who went to Loch Ness. They did some research, figured out every single species or organism that lives in Loch Ness. And they came up with some answers. And it was just the most exciting thing. So it's like your inner child gets to learn the truth a little bit. You get to indulge yourself. We had a bit of fun with it. So that one's been my favorite. And also, birds aren't real. It is a journey. It's a roller coaster with that episode. Yeah. So those two are definitely the top.
Awesome. Well, that's two that I haven't listened to. So Loch Ness came out just now. Like that's your latest one. But I have seen the birds one because I didn't see that one pop up, and I'm gonna have to listen to that one because that's crazy. So I'm super keen. Thank you so much for sharing everything with us today. So this is part one of a 2-part series. So we're going to be back on Thursday. That's Thursday our time here in Australia because we're in the future. If you're watching in the US, it's going to be Wednesday afternoon. So 48 hours from now is basically the best way to think about it. Bettina, thank you so much for your time. It's great hanging out with you. And I'm going to see you in 2 days and we'll do this again.
Thank you, Flynn. Thanks for being my partner in crime. And I'll see you in 2 days.
Okay. Bye, everyone. See you then.
Okay. Bye-bye. Bye.